finisher he's becoming.
Lane, Oladipo. Oh, that's right. You better mean mug after you dunk on somebody that way.
Gonna run it down. He goes with it. Adebayo for the win.
Welcome to the Post Up brought to you by the 5 Reasons Postgame Show. Well, I'm off to a great start. And, and I'm your host, Jonathan A. Ramlakan. Wait, I'm not A. Ramlakan. Jonathan N. Ramlakan. Yeah, so off to a horrible start already. But the Miami Heat also got to a horrible start, but we closed strong, so that's what we'll do today. I'm joined by Ricky J. Mark and my boy Ariel Atias. As some of you guys may know, Royal and Gad, as well as Ethan and a few others are at the watch party, so they might be popping in. But before we want to move forward with the game, I want to thank the unidentified celebrity review for the $5 donut already before the show even started. So I appreciate you. So you can definitely get that first one. Duncan is a bum. 100% agree, man. He's playing like absolute trash. Yeah, no, not bum, but he's not playing what he's worth just yet. I feel like, we got a live look at the watch party.
Hey! Look at these boys. Oh my God, the FOMO is real.
We beat the Pistons.
We're going to the finals.
The spread. Let's go.
I love it.
Not a woman in sight.
I have no idea what. Yeah. Yo, take me out the full screen, bro. Jonathan Robinson, what's up, bro? We beat them whole ass Pistons. Yes, indeed. We the best. We struggled, but that don't matter because we won.
The jersey's fire, though, my guy.
I'm an island boy. My bad. I don't know what y'all talking about. I can't really hear y'all because there's a bunch of people here making a bunch of noise. Y'all have a great.
It's just you, bro. You're the one making the noise.
Oh yeah, I'm making all the noise. As guys just informed me. Y'all have a great show. I'm gonna get out of here. And I'm gonna watch it on YouTube.
No.
Take me out, Jonathan Robinson.
All right.
I do.
Nice. All right. So, yeah, live look at the watch party. Yeah, Nick Ordonez, they definitely been sipping. They definitely been, for sure.
Yeah.
But, hey, that's what happens at the watch party. Probably sipping on some Biscayne Berry. So I want to get to thank some of our sponsors, actually, before we get started here. I want to thank Aggressive Insurance. Of course, you can check them out at Insurance by Lynette. She's going to take care of you all the time. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up whenever I can find that. Yeah, here we go. And bang. So yeah, go Aggressive Insurance Agency. Make sure you go to her website, insurancebylynette.com, and also check out, give them a call, 954-581-8800. Make sure you also, and we'll get to CPT a little bit later. So let's talk about this game a little bit because, I mean, it was an exciting game to watch. It was horrible to watch in the first half, but the way they brought it back in the second half was just, it was very inspiring. I want to give a shout out to my boy Gage, who was live at the game. I'm sure you had a great time. So shout out to you. Probably talking shit to all them Pistons fans. So Ariel, talk to me about what you saw this game.
Well, real quick, I entirely disagree with you on that being a fun game to watch. It was fun probably like for a quarter of the game, and that was the fourth quarter. In the first half, I mean, like it's kind of the story of, you know, what we've seen with the Heat time and time again, not just this season, frankly, but it's kind of been a theme of theirs over the last couple of seasons, in that they generally play down to the level of their competition. And a lot of the times they'll go into games where, you know, they should just kill the other team and then they just don't bring it. Like, frankly, I thought that was what a lot of the first three quarters of that game came down to, was the Heat didn't bring it. They were getting out hustled. They were getting beat to loose balls, the offensive rebounds, missed rotations on the perimeter, just a lot of stuff that it's like, you just got to pay attention. You just got to try and pay attention. Like, you know, we can do all the X's and O's we want, but at the end of the day, sometimes it just comes down to like bringing it. So yeah, that was, I think, you know, I needed Bam to kind of try to dominate his matchup a little bit more. There's nobody on that Pistons front line who should be able to do anything with Bam down low or on the perimeter. And, you know, I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of that, but fourth quarter starts, bench lineups out there with Kyle Lowry. Tyler Hero saves the day. The kid is absolutely electric. He's blossoming right before our eyes. And that fourth quarter stretch where he just caught fire and scorched earth, I mean, that was like euphoria.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I was on FaceTime with someone, and I went from almost depression to absolutely going out of my mind when he was hitting those threes. when the guy fell and he hit that pull up three, I was like, no, yes. It was like that moment. It's like, you don't want him to take that shot until it actually goes in. But before I get to Ricky, I do want to thank FinsFan23 for the $2 dono. Cade Cunningham kind of trash.
No, he's not.
He's playing against the Heat,
It.
and he's on his rookie year. Chill out with that.
He had a triple-double in his last game.
Yeah, he's good, man. I think he's going to develop into a really good player. I really do think he's going to be a good player. Ricky, how you doing, my man? You're looking phenomenal with
I feel
nice
great.
robe. What were your thoughts on this game?
For starters, Cade Cunningham is not trash, and that same commenter would be worshiping him if he were a member of the Miami Heat. So let's just
next LeBron if he's on the Heat.
Yeah. So spare me, okay? Spare me. Secondly, I mean, it's beautiful to see that Tyler Hero was really able to take over when he did. I think he had about 13 or 14 points in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That was really nice to see, and even more so, I was happy to see the Heat Twitter account actually get behind a movement more than 2 weeks before the end of the season for a change. Tyler, I think it was Sixth Man of the Year, Tyler, or something like that. I think it really seems that they're really leaning into this idea that Tyler Hero should and can and should be a serious Sixth Man of the Year candidate. That was also cool. But ultimately, this was really about Tyler for me. It's just another chapter in a pretty solid story this season. Some call it a comeback. Others might call it another step forward for him. So props to Tyler, props to Miami for a second there, putting away the Pistons before deciding, we're going to make it interesting in the final 90 seconds, and then ultimately just shutting it down. That needs to be, I'm sure that's going to be discussed the next time they meet for shoot around or practice. But other than that, Miami was able to overcome a first half deficit and against quite frankly, a team that they were supposed to beat in the first place. And they won. We got the dub. Let's move forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. We were supposed to finish this game, but we were both on the pregame show, and I talked about we were probably going to get off to a slow start because that's what we have been doing recently is just not coming out as fast. Jimmy kind of comes in and he has to set the tempo, and he comes in, he's getting those free throws, and then from there the team kind of starts to follow. I felt like Kyle had a really weak first half, but picked it up more on the scoring side on the second half. He had some good big threes in the fourth quarter, made some good plays.
7 assists in the fourth quarter as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely no. That's killing it without actually killing it. Without actually putting the ball in the hole. He's doing it for everyone else. He was deferring to Hero on the scoring side, which was a smart thing to do because Hero is absolutely scorching hot tonight. So let's get to Tyler Hero. I mean, I think should be the first topic of discussion. He definitely earned it. 30 points off the bench. I'll put up the stat line once I get it more. Ariel, talk to me about what you saw from Tyler Hero as well as the progression of what we see from him now, also from just the beginning of the season.
I truthfully, Jonathan, we've talked about this so much that I have almost nothing else to add in terms of like what improvements or what I've seen, what new developments. Like we've talked about it, right? Like everything has improved, literally everything. I have nothing else to add on the topic. However, I'm just gonna start continuously sprinkling this conversation in because the first time I brought it up on Floor is Yours, I was vehemently disagreed with by everybody on the panel and in the chat. And I realize now that every time I bring it up on Twitter, people are starting to come on to, my side of the fence a little bit more here. So that conversation is that I want Tyler Hero starting. I don't know if I want it right now. I don't think I want it right now. I still want to give Duncan Robinson a chance to kind of find his rhythm. He fits really well with that starting five. But frankly, if we're being completely honest, what I feel like the starting five is missing is a 3-level scorer, a guy who can do it at all 3 levels. Tyler Hero is developing into that. And so if Duncan Robinson kind of just continues to struggle and the slump kind of just continues going for another 10, 15 games. Like whenever y'all are ready to have the Tyler Hero should start conversation, I'm ready because it's becoming a theme now where they are starting games slowly. They're finding themselves in deficits. They're having trouble scoring in the first half. And usually they're the ones having to call the first timeout because the other team is outplaying them. So, I'm ready to have the Tyler Hero conversation whenever y'all are. And for everybody who's going to come at me with the whole, who's going to score off the bench and blah, blah, blah. Guys, it's overblown. It does not matter where your scoring comes from. If you have 5 guys scoring 25 points per game and they're all starting for you, that's 125 points a night. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Eric Spoelstra always staggers his stars with the bench. Jimmy Butler is always out there with the bench guys. And then when Jimmy goes to the bench, Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo come in and they anchor that bench unit. So there's always going to be one or a couple of your best players out there with the bench. So whenever y'all are ready for this conversation, I'm ready to have it.
Ricky, what are your thoughts?
Hey, well, aside from the last time I spoke, which was pretty much completely Tyler Hero oriented, yeah, I'm with Ariel. Look, it's not a matter of if, but when. I think we all know that it's inevitable that Tyler Hero will start. I think, however, it probably won't happen until this roster is fully realized or fully crystallized, as one would say, because right now we're currently waiting on two things. One, we want to see what Victor Oladipo is able to bring you off the bench when he comes back, if he's able to fully come back healthy. And second, there's the buyout market. That might be something very interesting for this Heat team. At this point, Duncan is on borrowed time. His days are numbered if he continues to play like this, because I imagine the reason why Duncan starts is because of his shooting, stretching the floor, as a result of benefiting from the other guys, dribble, drive, penetrate, kick out, all that other fun stuff, which is what both Kyle Lowry and Jimmy are known for doing. They love shooting. They love passing the shooters. If the shooter that's starting alongside them isn't capable of doing that, then it's only going to be a matter of time, because this was a team that was built with championship aspirations. And if one of your guys on the floor can't hit threes or can't do their job, then, he's going to have to sit. So Tyler Hero, I think, will eventually start. If Victor Oladipo is able to bring something special off the bench, such as additional defense and all that other fun stuff, then we'll have our 7 to 8 to 9 man rotation ready to go come playoff time. And then once that happens, man, look out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
This basically is gone to directed towards Ariel. So you can go ahead and take this, buddy.
Jason Adebayo, thank you for the $9.99 dono. He says 100% with you. The only reason we tolerated Duncan in the starting lineup was because he fits so well with the starters. What the starting five needs is a 3-level scorer. Look, man, first of all, you're spot on. That's exactly where I'm going with this. And again, Ricky, I think you make phenomenal points. I agree with you that, like, when Victor Oladipo comes back, especially if Duncan continues this kind of slump that he's having, or if Tyler's ascension just gets to a point where, like, it's undeniable, like, it almost doesn't make sense to not have him out there from the jump to give your team the best chance at, having a good start to games, because it matters. Like, it does matter. But regardless of whether or not, however the Victor Oladipo card plays out, I just think they're going to get, like, if the status quo is maintained and Duncan doesn't start playing better and Tyler Hero doesn't, kind of come back to earth a little bit, which I frankly don't think he will. I just think you got to start with your 5 best guys most nights if you're having trouble at the start of games, which the Heat have been having recently. And Tyler Hero plugs the biggest hole that they have in the starting 5, which is a guy who you can give the ball to, and he can do it at all 3 levels. Jimmy does it at 2 levels. Tyler can do it at all 3 levels. He's showing that he's a little bit better and more able to get to the rim now than he has in previous seasons, because he's quicker, he's stronger, the handle is better. So, I mean, the way it's going, I think we're rapidly approaching that territory.
He'll finish, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
But
sure.
here's something that's going to help with as well, right? We've seen Jimmy have to take over the loads at the beginning of games, and we want him saving that for if the game is close, right? We want him using that skill to stop the clock, to get to the free throw line, to be physical and dominate that one-on-one matchup later in the game. It's great that he's doing it early in the game, but like you said, if we have Tyler Hero in there, that takes a lot of pressure off of Jimmy, and we're going to stagger the lineups anyways. So if Jimmy's able to kind of work his way into the game, find his way, kind of like what he did last year, where he would facilitate, and then pick his spots, right? If we can have Tyler Hero starting the game really strong, getting in a rhythm, and then you have Jimmy closing the game really strong, conserving his energy for when we really need it, I think that's going to be a huge incentive to starting Tyler Hero as well. And I think if you have somebody, let's say when Vic comes back, you have somebody who's like a slasher and somebody who's a shooter with Duncan Robinson. So I think that can be a really good dynamic off the bench as well. And I mean, we have the athletic, Caleb Martin, which we're going to get to as well, because he's had some phenomenal plays. But I think that bench can stack up pretty well with a Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo backcourt as well. What are your thoughts on that backcourt coming off the bench?
I mean, the fit on paper is fine. It's great. And regardless, like Duncan's role doesn't really change. This is another thing that I was arguing is that like Duncan's role doesn't really change if you bring him off the bench. He just starts doing it, later in games. That's all. But I mean, he's coming off the bench. He's still going to be in lineups with Kyle Lowry, with Jimmy Butler, with Bam. It's not like he plays with four other bench players at all times, right? It's not going to change for him. My only concern with benching Duncan is, if that's the direction that the organization decides to go, then I think they would be pretty inclined to move him if the right deal presents itself, right? And that's a player that you just made a substantial investment in. So if you're if you're demoting him, in terms of value, it's probably not. It's kind of like what the Kings would be doing with Marvin Bagley, just on a lesser scale, where you don't want to make the asset that you would potentially move be perceived as less than it is. So if you move him to the bench, it's not a great look in terms of his trade value. So I don't really know how it works, to be honest with you, but I'm looking at this more specifically from the Tyler Hero angle and the fact that the Heat need better offense to start games.
Yeah. I'm not really contract focused when it comes to a lot of these things, mainly because, we don't know what the salary cap is going to look like in 2 years, much less 3 or 4. Sure. And deals like what Duncan Robinson got in the offseason might look like role player dollars anyways. I mean, he's on a fine deal. He didn't get overpaid. Yeah. So like, I think at this point, I can understand why some people might think the optics might not be great if a guy that got Duncan's deal is coming off the bench. But, at the end of the day, if, Lamar Odom was getting paid a good deal of, okay. If Lamar Odom was getting a good deal of money and he was coming off the bench too, the guy was starting caliber, and it happened to be for a championship team. Duncan is the kind of player where, like I said, if his shooting or his production isn't up to snuff, then I think this team will do something about it, because as we've learned in the last 5 years of Heat fandom, we cannot, and I said this ironically enough about Tyler Hero actually last year leading up to the trade deadline. Please do not fall in love with these players on this roster. Do not fall in love with these players, because if you do, a trade will happen that the team believes is in the best interest of the team's future prospects, and then you'll be all heartbroken and butthurt, or whatever even the term is these days. If it just so happens that that's the case, this is a team of veterans. They will get over it. This isn't a young team where the thought of even trade rumors knocks them out for like 8 or 9 games, like that Lakers team from a couple years ago, or even last year's
Heat
team.
Last year, yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, at this point, there aren't, Jimmy's in his early 30s, Lowry's in his mid-30s, PJ Tucker's in his late 30s, and Bam is approaching his prime. You want Bam to approach his prime with a ring on his finger. The same way Dwayne did. And Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler probably won't be in the league in 6 years. So I think the Heat are going to take advantage of the opportunities once they're presented. We know how one-dimensional Duncan Robinson is. And if he's able, and if some team is dumb enough to trade for him, because remember, they have to agree to that trade, right? Then, all right, fine, whatever.
There are some teams out there for whom it makes sense. I don't know. Let's not go into that. I want to, let's focus on the game and do all that. But, we've had some conversations. There are some teams for whom it would make sense that there's a need for shooting, and that they could, justify consolidating some of their role guys, that would kind of plug some holes maybe on the Heat's roster. And then a guy like Duncan Robinson makes some sense for them. So, there are avenues. It's just I think we're quite a ways away from that, but something that could happen. You never know.
There's a count. Someone has a running countdown. I don't know who it is, but that's
Gad. That's Gad. It's like 56 days now or something.
There you go.
So thank you, Jason Adebayo, for the $4.99 dono. He's on a good deal. Hell no, he's making the same as normal Powell SMH. Ideally, you can use him like Ellington off the bench, though, if Tyler starts.
Yeah, when I said he's on a good deal, what I mean is like relative to the market, like shooters of his caliber, based on what he's been shooting for the first 2 seasons of his career, like that's what the market is. He got paid similar to what Davis Bertans got paid, similar to Joe Harris. Joe Harris, I think, is better than Duncan Robinson overall as a player, but I mean, that's essentially what the market is for an elite sniper. He just hasn't performed up to it so far this season.
And he'll have his games, man. I feel like those games are going to come regardless. Like, he's getting the looks, they're open. Yeah. It's just a matter of time before he has one of these 8 3-point games that he just, puts us over the top and we blow a team out, right? I mean, we can have it tomorrow. For all we know, he can come out tomorrow and give us 8 threes, and that would be more than we had tonight. I mean, I don't think we hit very many threes outside of the couple that Hero.
Yeah, I don't even know how many.
Yeah, but he better do it more than once this season, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So let's get to a couple of the other guys on the team because it was really a good team effort, right? I felt like it was spearheaded by Tyler Hero, but behind that, it was just a lot of everything from everybody else as well. So, Ariel, I'll let you pick who you want. Do you want Jimmy or you want Kyle?
I'm going to talk about Kyle, I think. I mean, Jimmy.
No, you don't get the Canadian.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's
go Kyle.
too easy.
He's not Canadian. He's from where's he from? Is he from Houston? Where's he from? Isn't he from Texas? I don't remember where Kyle's
have
from.
Canadian citizenship with however.
Anywho, I think that makes me more than qualified to talk about him. So I'm going to go Kyle Lowry. But in non-Canadian fashion, I'm not going to be kind to Kyle. I will start, however, with the positives in that he had a really good fourth quarter and he showed up when the Heat needed him. But I feel like, we're kind of getting to a point where, we've been blowing this horn and just constantly repeating that, Kyle's been this for the majority of his career. And especially in his prime, he's been a good scorer, a really good shooter. We know all about what he does as a point guard, as a traditional point guard. But at some point here, when is the scoring going to come? Because there are moments in games, there are substantial chunks of games where sometimes the Heat have trouble scoring, as they did for essentially the entire first half of tonight's game. And there were a lot of opportunities where Kyle can, put his head down, get to the basket. He's always had a really good 2-dribble pull-up mid-range jumper and a pull-up mid-range 3 that we haven't seen drop, or we haven't seen the 3 drop, and we haven't seen the pull-up mid-range 2 taken all that frequently this season from him. And so I'm kind of just wondering, it's pretty evident that he's deferring a lot and he's trying to have the offense run smoothly and, just kind of be that relief guy and not necessarily be a focal point of the offense. But there are moments in games where they need his scoring. And so, at what point is Kyle going to start consistently putting the ball in the basket? He's averaging something like 12 points per game this season. Frankly, the Heat probably need a little bit more from him. I don't really care about the numbers, to be honest with you. It's just more I want to see him assert himself more frequently in games. Not all the time, because he's not the best scorer, the second, or even the third best scorer on the team. But he is undoubtedly their fourth best scoring option, without a doubt, after Tyler, Jimmy, and Bam. So, he needs to be that guy from time to time. I need to see it more. And the 3-point shot, he's been a much better shooter over the course of his career than he has been this season. I saw a stat the other day that showed that the Heat were shooting substantially below what their expected field goal percentage is on the quality of 3-point attempts that they've gotten. So you would expect that at some point over the course of this season, water's going to reach its level and those threes will start dropping. But I'm just waiting to see it because the Heat need it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I feel like there was points in this game, like you said, that we need him to put his head down and go to the rim. I mean, we saw it in the second quarter. I mean, when he got to the rim and got the layup to go, you heard him scream God damn. But that's what we need to see more of. He's a bulldog of a point guard. So when he has a smaller guard on him, he needs to take it to the rim, because if he's not going to get the shot to fall, I mean, he's a flop artist. This dude's going to get to the free throw line regardless. So I'm right there with you.
He's
Ricky,
a culture artist. It's not, we don't call it flop artists around here.
Before we get to Ricky's thoughts on it, I want to thank Christian Cardus for the $4.99 dono. Pat has hired a guy to dig up dirt on the Kings front office. Don't worry about agreeing. They'll agree to Barnes for KZ plus Duncan once they defile. Awesome.
I mean, in a
Ricky,
heartbeat.
Any final thoughts on Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, I'm happy that he was able to impact the game in other ways. I mean, the stat line speaks for itself: 15 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. I'm taller than him. That's impressive. Okay. That's awesome. He was 4 for 10 from the field. So despite not having the shot going, he was able to make things happen. And he didn't necessarily, if anything, he empowered Tyler Hero to do what he did tonight. Because remember, they're in the backcourt. And, I'm glad that Tyler had a good night and Kyle didn't end up shooting more shots, because those are shots likely being taken away from a hot hand. And I know that we like guys that are aggressive, but we don't like when we've got a hot hand on the floor and this other guy chucking shots. I'll give you a perfect example. Do you guys remember when Curry dropped 54 at the Garden a couple of years back? This was back in like 2013 or 2014.
Like somewhat.
They ended up losing that game. You know why? Because Jarrett Jack thought, you know what? Now is my time. And he started taking shots. And next thing you know, the Warriors ended up losing by like 5 or 6 or something like that. Meanwhile, Curry was on fire. You know? I think we should be thankful that Kyle Lowry isn't or wasn't or whatever that point guard, because Hero's going off. He's knocking on the door of 35, 40 points. And Lowry's like, okay, all right. I'm going to see how else I can help. This is also good because this is a great team to work some stuff out, and hopefully moving forward, we see what happens. Now, to kind of go back on something that I heard a little earlier with regards to, staggering the lineups and things like that. Let's not soon forget how this Heat team was able to blow out the Bucks early in the season.
First game.
They attacked the basket and got their better players in foul trouble. That was thanks to Giannis. I'm sorry, not Giannis. That was thanks to Jimmy. That was thanks to Bam being aggressive down low. And that was even thanks to Kyle Lowry, of all people. And then once that happened, you bring the shooters in to finish off the job. So, I mean, there are ways that this can be done, but only if everybody's properly healthy.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. And before we continue with the game, we got 400 people in here, so I want to thank everybody who's watching. That's a awesome number. But we only got 34 likes, so we'd appreciate it if you liked it. If you like what's going on here, that helps us tremendously when it comes offline. It becomes suggested to other Miami Heat fans. So we appreciate you supporting the 5 Reasons family as you are part of. So make sure you hit that like button as well. So let's talk about Jimmy Butler a little bit, because he started.
Ramadan, real quick. One thing I think they would really like.
The fans or the Heat? What are we talking about?
The 400 people that are watching us right now.
What's that?
Sponsors. I think they like it. I think they like it when we're insured and aggressive. What do you think?
I bet they do. Why don't you tell them about it, Ricky?
And I also
tell me.
They also like CPT Insurance or CPT of South Florida. So Ricky, talk to us about our friends over at CPT.
Why don't you scroll down? I'll explain to the good people what exactly it is that they're talking about. Okay, so let's say you're a business owner and you're looking for ways to properly communicate with your clients, your clientele, and just about people in general. CPT of South Florida will make sure they take care. They will help you take care of everything, communications, phone, all that stuff, pretty much. When you are running a business, you need proper IT services. You need computers that run properly. You need internet connections, and you need a means by which you can communicate. Like I just mentioned, CPT will make sure you are set, and they make it look easy. Believe it or not, running a business out of an office or just even out of home sometimes because of the pandemic that we're still dealing with is a lot easier than it looks. You rock with CPT, they'll take care of you. They're a proud sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And not only that, they'll help insure you against a lot of problems that normally come with having a business. But speaking of insurance, that sounds very familiar. I can't stall any longer. Put up the ad. There we go. All right.
Come on, Ricky. You can stall better than anybody else on this network.
Oh, man.
Appreciate, of course, A Aggressive Insurance Agency.
That's right.
We got Mrs. Lynette watching as always. She's always in the comments, so we appreciate her joining us. So make sure, if you're buying anything, why not buy it from a Heat fan, right? You don't go buy something from a Boston fan, from a Magic fan. Like,
oh, God.
Think about that. Think about buying something from a Boston Celtic fan. Giving your money to a Boston Celtic fan. Don't go do that. Buy A Aggressive Insurance. Make sure you get all your insurance needs taken care of. She'll take care of you. She's one of ours. She's one of our family here at 5 Reasons. Make sure you call 954-581-8800, and she will take care of you. If you have any questions, even if you don't know what you need, talk to her. She'll help you figure out what you do need. It's okay not to know what you don't know, so she'll help take care of you as well. So
she's a human being and not a robot.
It's true.
Exactly. So I appreciate you, Miss Lynette, for sponsoring the postgame show as always. Now let's get to Jimmy Butler, because he came out. I feel like if Jimmy Butler was not in this game, this first quarter, we would have lost. I mean, he scored as much as the Pistons, if I'm correct, right? He was the only guy scoring pretty much in that first quarter. So, Ricky, I'll let you talk about Jimmy Butler since we let Ariel have Kyle. Talk to me about what you saw from Jimmy Butler.
Honestly, at this point, what can be said about Jimmy Butler that hasn't already been said about him this season? I mean, this is a guy that whether he's injured, whether he's healthy, whether he's in a good mood, bad mood, whatever, he's going to go all out and he's going to embody the very essence of Heat culture. Okay, culture, not flopping, because flopping ain't Heat culture. Okay,
that's right.
Let's be very
yes,
clear about
sir.
that. If anybody flops, that's not Heat culture. They take charges.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. I'm happy to see that Jimmy was able to take the reins a little bit when things started off a little slow because, that kind of aggression is what you need. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we have someone like Lynette with Aggressive Insurance sponsoring us because as a Heat fan, she understands aggression, and so does Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, dealing with the team like the Pistons, recognizes that this isn't the kind of team that a championship contender is supposed to be dealing with or struggling with. Okay, right. We're supposed to be better than the Lakers, who are currently down by 5 to the Knicks right now on TNT. Not telling you to go watch it, but I'm just saying that's just what's happening. But here's the thing: I always feel that whenever Jimmy Butler is on your side, you're never truly out of a game unless he's literally the only person on the floor against 5 people. Thankfully, he was able to keep the Heat afloat. He was able to be aggressive and get to some of his spots. Once all of that came to pass and everybody else was able to realize, hold on, maybe I can follow his lead this time, it was curtains for the Pistons, at least for a little while. Do I want Jimmy Butler to be the only one practically scoring in the first quarter or every game? No. But on nights like this, when other guys had trouble getting it going at the moment, Jimmy was there for us. And what more can you ask for? That's what you want out of your best player.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. Ariel, any final thoughts on Jimmy Butler?
I agree with everything Ricky said. I felt like tonight it was, another one of those games where it feels like almost every night he's just kind of carrying the team early in the game until guys kind of start finding their rhythm or Tyler Hero comes in and, gets going himself. So I don't know. He's had an unbelievable year. He's never been at a higher level in terms of like playing basketball than he's at right now. He is at his absolute peak. And the Heat just can't afford to waste this year from him. But I think that also entails managing him properly. So maybe that means more rest days. Maybe that means, inserting a certain 6'5", 6'6" guard from Wisconsin off the bench. You put him on.
He's 6'4".
He's 6'4". I think he's listed at like 6'5", 6'6". You're saying, so they're lying to us.
Yes.
Okay. Ricky sources. Got you. Sauces. My bad. But yeah, no, whatever it is, I don't want Jimmy having to be the guy in every first quarter to he plays the whole 12 minutes and everything is going through him the entire quarter. So maybe on a night like tonight, he kind of didn't have it as the game went on. The entire team was sluggish, but it seemed like, maybe after he essentially carried the team and kind of kept them afloat in that first quarter, that he just didn't really have it as the game went on. And that's fine because he's been one of the 5 best players in the NBA this season so far. So just something to kind of monitor as we go on throughout this season. The Heat, I think, need to find ways to kind of lessen his load just a little bit, which to me means more responsibility for Tyler Hero, more on Bam Adebayo's shoulders, and more on Kyle Lowry's shoulders.
Well, if you look at the fact that he was also able to get 9 rebounds and 5 assists, means that just like Kyle Lowry, he was able to impact the game in different ways, and they were able to recognize that Tyler Hero's got it going on. My shot's not falling the way it should, or I've done what I did what I could in the first quarter at the very least. Let's ride this. Let's see what happens. And if anything, I think it embodies the kind of collective mindset of this team where it's not only just next man up, but it requires every sense of the term, a team effort, as cliche as that might sound, to get past whatever team may be waiting for us on the other side. Granted, we weren't supposed to struggle like this against the Pistons, but at the end of the day, like I said, I think in pregame, get the dub, move on to the next one, talk about it, improve, but get the dub, because the losses hurt more than just ego. They matter in the standings too.
Yep. The Heat are now second in the East. I think they're sitting at second right now. And if they had lost, they would have been, 4th or 5th. So It does matter. These games all matter. You can't drop games that you have to win.
Especially this season, the losses are super close, and when we're going against teams in the East, those aren't the games you want to drop. But I think we're seeing something, and I know they talked about it on 5 on the Floor. Jimmy's playing the best we've seen a player play in a Heat uniform since 2013. Braun, right? This is his ability to score at will. You can almost see him scoring 30 to 40 every night if he wanted to, because of his ability to get to the line and his ability to do it efficiently and not do it relying on a jump shot. So I think this is a player that will give you 15 tonight because he wanted to, right? He felt out where he needed to be used in the game, and they went on a big run when he was on the bench thanks to a player that led the team in plus minus. Anybody want to take a guess?
Caleb?
Absolutely.
Gabe Vincent.
Wow.
So go ahead and talk to me about what you saw from Caleb, man. He had me hyped with that dunk, dude. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, he's exciting, man. He's fun. I really love what he's giving the Heat. I mean, the value they're getting out of that 2-way contract is crazy. You wouldn't expect the 2-way contract to contribute in any way. And it's not just that he's playing, but he's been a part of a lot of the Heat's positive lineups. Like, he's been good for them. He's been like objectively solid in his role. Doesn't try to do too much. I don't find myself feeling like, he makes too many mental mistakes ever. He's not generally out of position. And even if he is, he's athletic and quick enough that he can recover and just, he's always good for, maybe a weak side block every other game or something, a fun dunk. Like, he's just solid. He doesn't hurt you. And it's just a great find. Like, I feel like there's absolutely no doubt that they're going to be converting that contract to a standard NBA contract later this season. It's just a matter of using up his games as a 2-way player and then converting the contract. And so you have to pay him less than you would have to pay him if you converted the contract right now. Keeps you under the luxury tax, perhaps. I don't know exactly what the numbers end up looking like, but I'm telling you that is more than likely going to be the way that this goes. They found something in him. He's a rotation player for sure. And I wonder how he's impacted when Victor Oladipo comes back. I know that, Vic comes back. Gabe is for sure the guy who gets squeezed. Right. But, you still got Max Strus. Markieff Morris isn't playing right now. So, there's a lot of – I don't know if there's going to be a role for him down the road, but, I mean, you need these kind of things to get through a long season. There are going to be injuries. There are going to be guys that are banged up, and you need to get production from other spots, and he's given the Heat that.
Yeah, UD has been very clear about this mantra that he's been preaching his whole career. You got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yep.
And it's good that Caleb Martin's getting these reps the way he is right now, mainly because as you mentioned, Ariel, we don't know what injuries are waiting for us on the other side of January. We don't. And at this point, we're all banking on Victor Oladipo coming back, but let's say, God forbid, he doesn't come back at full strength, and we still need wings off the bench to be active. I'm just glad that the Miami Heat were able to identify a solid prospect and take advantage of that to the point where they got a potential rotational player at a bargain bin. And that sort of thing is really cool to see. And to make matters even better than that, as a second or third stringer, it's good that this team is good enough to where they're not relying on Caleb Martin for 25 to 32 minutes a game. Because last season, you had a bunch of G Leaguers and third stringers. Nothing against them personally. It's just that's who they were talent-wise. You had a bunch of G Leaguers and third stringers that were getting heavy minutes, and they were maxing out. It's like when you're playing 2K or FIFA or whatever, and you've maxed out your turbo in the first half. You can't really do anything in the second half. You don't have anything left. And it's good to see that Caleb Martin is able to play his game and contribute to an already good thing on the Heat roster, as opposed to being relied upon to save them using the willpower, using the almighty power of culture, as if that's some sort of supernatural thing that'll win you games or whatever. I mean, come on, let's be realistic.
It just gets players into the best shape of their careers, and they become the best versions of themselves. That's all it does. It doesn't win you games by itself.
No, right.
But for anyone who doesn't know, now y'all know.
Sure. Well, I mean, ultimately, that's what it's all about.
To leave the Miami Heat. I mean, how many players have we actually seen? I mean, Josh Richardson, Justice Winslow, James
Rodney
Johnson,
McGruder,
Hassan Whiteside,
LeBron James.
Oh, Lord. He won a title. Stop it. Against the Heat.
Only one title? No, two
word.
titles. And how long? How many years did it take him to get 2 titles outside of the Heat compared to how long it took him to get 2 titles with the Heat?
Well, he
That's
would
all
have
I'm
won
gonna say.
more if the Freak Show Warriors hadn't shown up. I mean, I think let's be completely honest with that. They are a video game cheat code that peaked at the absolute perfect time. They would have gotten the Cavs probably would have won 3 once that happened. I mean, they were built perfectly. That 2017 Cavs team was historic in terms of offense.
Wouldn't have happened if John was on the Heat. Pat would have built a better team. That's all I'm going to say. Let's move on.
Well,
Let's talk about somebody who I did not feel had a great game because, I mean, the numbers look decent, right? Don't get me wrong. Numbers look decent, but I felt his impact on the game was just not there tonight. He had a very thin down front court of Detroit, and Luka Garza was in foul trouble for most of the night. There was times where he had players switching on him, and he would settle to try to go take for the jump shot instead of backing him up into the post. Even the Detroit commentators, because I was listening to from their side, were saying, doesn't Bam look a little bit bigger to you? If they even notice that Bam has put on weight, not knowing obviously that he put on the 15 pounds, if they can notice that and he's not taking advantage of those mismatches on the court, there's something there that he's just not getting, right? He should be only 10 shots, and Tyler Hero ended up taking 21. Bam needs to have at least 15, right? Tyler Hero cannot be doubling up Bam Adebayo on shot attempts. I think that's just going to limit the ceiling on this team, and if he was able to get off to a little bit better of a start, we wouldn't have to worry about Tyler Hero coming off the bench so much or need that scoring off the beginning of the first quarter. So that's my thoughts on Bam Adebayo. I felt like he needed to do a little bit better tonight. I mean, like I said, it doesn't look too bad on the stat line, but his impact really just wasn't there, especially against a thin down Detroit front court. Ariel, what are your thoughts on Bam's impact tonight?
So I agree that the stat line doesn't look bad, but I mean, you expect more from him. We hold him to a higher standard because he's better than 15, 9, and 5, right? Like just this season, he's 19, 11, and a couple of assists. So like you expect a little bit more. I don't think he had a bad game, but you want to see him be more assertive against that Pistons front line. Like they don't have anybody that should be able to slow Bam down. If he decides to take the game over, he should be able to do so whenever he wants. But I just saw, look, I'll start with the positives. He had phenomenal, like some of those passes out of the elbow or the post. He found Duncan, Kyle Lowry on back cuts, and he just put the pass on the money, just zipped it across the court. So that stuff's all good, but yeah, you want to see him be more aggressive against that Pistons front line. I'm worried that maybe there's some kind of injury or something, since what was it with the knee tendonitis or whatever it is that he's got going on with his knee. Since that has started popping up on the injury report in the last couple of weeks, the production is kind of steadily declined just a little bit, and he looks a little bit less aggressive. So I don't know if there's a correlation there. Like I'm totally speculating. He could come out tomorrow night, and he always gets up for matchups with Karl Anthony Towns. He might go ballistic, but something to keep an eye on. It's a little bit concerning to me, but yeah, you want to see him do more against the Pistons for sure.
Ricky?
Yeah, I think, look, he is dealing with quite a few things right now. I mean, you have the knee, I believe it felt like he was a game time decision tonight because of, I think, an illness
or something
that he had. Look, I mean, thankfully it's not anything COVID related, but, when you're ill, if you're not feeling well, you're not going to play hard. It doesn't matter, I mean, I know people want to be like, well, Michael scored 38 against the Jazz. Like, okay, well, great. I was one game and he had food poisoning. It was pizza. All right. It wasn't.
Food poisoning sucks, though.
No, it does. No question. But I'm saying, like, people act like, come on now. Like, calm that down because not everyone's going to perform the same way. Okay. Not only that, but look, I think we know what Bam is capable of. I think the very moment we knew that we had something special in Bam Adebayo was when he dropped like 29 and 17 against the Celtics in a playoff game in the bubble. Once we saw that, we're like, okay, he can do that. He can take the ball to the basket and pretty much dunk on the entire city of Boston. Okay. All right. Now let's build on that. The shoulder injury got in the way, but that's behind him now. At this point, if he doesn't take at least 15 shots a game, that's on him. That's a choice. No one on this team wants, I mean, at this point, I think the Heat want him to do it. It reminds me of, and this is the last example I'll use, like it reminds me of when Kevin Garnett arrived, ironically enough, in Boston. In practice every day, they would yell the number 13, 13, 13 until it drove Kevin Garnett crazy. Like, why are you constantly saying 13? Why are you yelling at me? Or why are you yelling that? That's weird. What's the point of that number? And Doc Rivers was pretty much straight up and said, yeah, that's the amount of shots we want you to take every game, because he was being deferential almost to a fault. And he was able to, hit those numbers on those nights, and then they ended up winning the title. So I think at this point, when it comes to Bam, as long as he does what he's supposed to do, as long as Lowry does what he's supposed to do, as long as Jimmy does what he's supposed to do, and as long as Hero stays aggressive and plays within himself, this is a tough out. Bam Adebayo is a top 3, if not top 2 center in the league when he really wants to. Go out and do it.
Yep.
We're all hurt.
I want to thank Jason Adebayo, the MVP for tonight, man, for another $4.99 dono. We're going to always struggle against switching defenses until Bam starts punishing mismatches on switches. That's just it. You're right, man. There's too many times where it's just too simple for other teams to shut us down because Bam is simply not being aggressive. So I'm right there with you. Couple other players on the team had some pretty good games, right? I felt like Dedmon had a solid impact off the bench. Gabe did a decent. I really loved Gabe's game tonight. I felt like his tenacity. He was knocking balls out of bounds left and right. Ariel, any final players that you wanted to close out on tonight before we close out on this game?
Not really, to be honest with you. I thought I could talk. I thought Dwayne Dedmon was solid, unspectacular, but just solid, steady in his minutes. Gabe Vincent, I need him to start making some threes. That'd be amazing because, I like the point of attack defense. I like the hustle. I like all the little intangible stuff that he brings, but you got to give us a little bit more. We need a little bit more. And the reason that it's not particularly frustrating is, I think, because we all generally expect Victor Oladipo to find his way back into the lineup at some point this season. Whether or not he's anywhere close to where he was, in prior years doesn't really matter. If he's at 60%, then it's an upgrade over Gabe Vincent, I think. So Gabe was fine. There's that stretch, that sequence in the fourth quarter where I think the Heat were up 8 or 10 or something, and Gabe got 2 wide open threes back to back and missed both of them in the exact same way. It hit the exact same part of the rim and bounced off the exact same way. And it's just genuinely, I didn't expect either of them to go in. When he shoots, I'm praying they go in. I don't ever expect them to go in. So, be nice if he can make some threes, but otherwise, I don't think he'll be a rotation player for all that much longer for the Heat.
Yeah, to your point, what you said earlier, once Oladipo comes back, I feel like Gabe's role is pretty much done.
Yeah.
Not much there left, but I feel like, I love, like you said, the tenacity. I love to see it, especially that it gave them fits, right? When we went to a zone, there was times where it gave him fits, so I felt like he had his impact there. Ricky, any final players you want to shout out before we close it on this game?
Not really. Max Strus is one of the greatest players of all time. I love him, and if Duncan's not careful, Max is going to take that contract as well as his playing time. And he's just that guy. He's just if Duncan Robinson were more aggressive and thick, you have Max Strus. So the Heat gave the Pistons the D in Detroit.
I think that's a good place to transition to the next game, and then
let's transition, man. So,
wrap this up.
The Heat have the Timberwolves tomorrow. Like you said, Bam always has a little extra motivation playing against Karl Anthony Towns. But there's a couple guys there, right? Anthony Edwards is playing really well. He's had really strong start. I have him on my fantasy squad, so great pickup by me. But yeah, he's killing it as well. Ricky, the boy feeling good?
I got to be honest with you. Yeah, I feel fine. Yeah, why
not? Nice. Ariel, the boy feeling good?
The boy's feeling good. Second night of a back-to-back in Minnesota. Doesn't feel too great. Would have felt a little bit better if...
we're playing the Timberwolves?
Yes. Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, I would have preferred if the Heat could have, had a blowout win tonight, maybe not play any of their guys in the fourth, but it's the NBA. You rarely get what you want. Yeah, Minnesota, they can win a game. They are not. Anthony Edwards has been awesome. That kid has taken a step. He's going to be a dynamic scorer in the NBA for a long time. We know what Cat can do. He's awesome. I like that. I want to see Bam's demeanor in tomorrow night's game because he's historically gone at Cat a little bit. We've heard the stories of his dinners with John Calipari and Cat and some of the assistants and the slights that Bam has felt came his way regarding like his relationship and what he's looked at in comparison to Karl Anthony Towns. So Bam gets up for that matchup. I want to see the Heat go out there and play like one of the best teams in the league because that's what they are. They should win, and I think they will.
Yeah, I'm right there with me, man. I mean, you already know where I am as honorary host. The Heat finna blow this shit out. We're gonna get it done. Bam is gonna dominate his matchup. Tyler Hero's gonna drop 50 points tomorrow. Jimmy Butler is gonna go to school with the second stringers, and he's gonna dominate that starting lineup of the Minnesota Timberwolves with the second stringers. So we're gonna get it done, man. I'm feeling good about tomorrow's game. Let's get out of here. Play the video of me.
Jimmy buckets! Clutch time!
Tyler Hero, what a finisher he's become.
Lane, Oladipo, oh! That's right, you better mean mug after you dunk on somebody that way.
Real quick before we get out of here, Christian Cardews, appreciate the $1.99 dono. Your tenacity with Zero's offense is more than tenacity. So appreciate you, Christian Cardews. It's the buzzer beato dono.
Yes,
Play the video one more time.
Jimmy buckets! Clutch time!
Tyler Hero, what a finisher he's become.
Lane, Oladipo, oh! That's right, you better mean mug after you dunk on somebody that way.